You're mid-argument, and suddenly your voice just vanishes. Or you're on stage, and your mind goes completely blank. Or you're driving, and for one frozen second, you just stare, foot nowhere near the brake. Afterward, you replay it, embarrassed, wondering why you couldn't just speak, move, or react like a normal person. Here's the real mystery. Fear isn't only fight or flight. Sometimes your brain decides both options are useless, and hits a third switch instead. So why does your body sometimes go completely still and silent when you're scared, instead of letting you fight or run? That third switch has a name: freeze. Your brain runs a threat detector called the amygdala. It doesn't just choose fight or flight, it can also choose shutdown. When danger feels too big, too fast, or impossible to escape, the amygdala stops green-lighting movement and instead pulls a brake called the vagus nerve. That brake cuts power straight to your voice and your muscles. That's why your throat locks and your legs feel bolted to the floor. It's not weakness, it's ancient wiring deciding stillness is safer than action. So what actually happens in the body in those exact seconds before that brake slams shut? Right before the full freeze locks in, your body actually gives you warning signs, if you know what to look for. Vision narrows, like someone is slowly closing a curtain around the edges of your sight, so all you can see is the thing in front of you. At the same time, your heart rate can actually drop, not spike. That's the part people don't expect. We assume fear speeds everything up, but in this pre-freeze moment, the body is doing the opposite, slowing down, conserving, preparing to go still. This is why people describe cold hands and a vanished voice the instant they hear shocking news. It's not panic revving up. It's the vagus nerve tapping the brake before it presses it all the way down. So here's where the chain stands so far. The amygdala sounds the alarm, decides fighting or fleeing won't work, and the vagus nerve begins to apply that brake, starting with these fast warning signs: tunnel vision, a dip in heart rate, a chill in the hands. That's the quick version, but freeze doesn't always behave like a flash. Sometimes it lingers, long after the moment that triggered it. Think about waking up from a nightmare and being unable to move for a few seconds, even though you're technically safe in your own bed. That's the same vagal brake, except it's staying engaged a little longer because your brain hasn't fully confirmed to itself that the threat is over. The danger already passed, but the switch hasn't flipped back yet. Your body is essentially double-checking before it hands control back to you. This raises an obvious question. Why would a body ever build in a shutdown like this? Wouldn't running or fighting always be the safer bet? Here's the twist. Freeze isn't a human glitch. It's borrowed straight from the rest of the animal kingdom. Watch a small animal when a predator gets close: a rabbit, a mouse, a bird caught out in the open. Often it doesn't sprint, it goes completely still. Stillness can be the smarter move when speed or strength won't save you, because a lot of predators are triggered by movement. Standing frozen can mean the difference between being noticed and being overlooked. Humans carry that same ancient wiring, even though our modern dangers rarely involve teeth or claws. A confrontation, a stage, a near miss on the highway. None of these are the same as a predator in the grass, but the amygdala doesn't know the difference. It just senses overwhelming and pulls the same lever. So to recap the chain quickly, the amygdala calls the threat, the vagus nerve hits the brake, and stillness becomes a legitimate survival option, not a personal failure, borrowed from creatures far older than us. That explains why the freeze happens, but what happens to you once it's over? That's the next piece worth understanding, because this is where most of the shame actually comes from. Museum. Here's the twist most people never hear. The embarrassment you feel after freezing isn't a separate problem sitting on top of the freeze, it's a direct result of it. While the vagus nerve had that brake engaged, it wasn't just stopping your legs and your voice, it was also cutting you out of the decision-making loop. Your conscious mind, the part of you that wants to defend itself, speak up, react, was essentially locked outside the room, while the ancient part of your brain ran the show. That's why people replay a frozen argument for days, searching for the moment they could have said something different. There was no moment. The choice was never yours to make in real time. You're not reliving a failure of nerve, you're reliving a decision your conscious mind wasn't even present for. Once that brake finally releases, the body doesn't just snap back to normal instantly, it often overshoots. Shakiness, a racing heart, a sense of disorientation, like your body is playing catch-up with danger that has technically already passed. Picture the moment right after a near-car accident. The frozen stare breaks, and suddenly your hands are trembling and your heart is pounding, even though the car already came to a stop. That's the vagal brake releasing and the nervous system swinging the other direction, catching up on the reaction it postponed. Now here's where it gets useful to understand the difference between a single freeze and a pattern of freezing. One freeze during an actual emergency, a near accident, a genuine threat. That's the system working exactly as designed. But when the same shutdown starts showing up in ordinary, low-stakes moments, a work presentation, a tense conversation with a partner, a disagreement at dinner, that's a sign the brain's threat detector has become a little too trigger-happy. The amygdala and vagus nerve pairing was built for rare high-stakes danger, not for a room full of coworkers waiting for you to speak. When it fires anyway, you get the same mute, frozen response, just aimed at a target that was never actually life-threatening in the first place. That mismatch, ancient circuitry meeting modern low-grade stress, is often the real reason your body feels off in moments that shouldn't call for a shutdown at all. Which leads to the real question worth answering next: is there a way to signal to this ancient system that it's safe, so it releases the brake faster? Here's the part that changes everything about how you see that frozen moment. The same vagus nerve that slammed the brake on your voice and your muscles also has a release mechanism built right in. It's not a one-way switch. It's more like a drawbridge that goes down when danger arrives, and can be raised again the moment your nervous system gets convincing proof the coast is clear. Watch what happens right after a near-car accident. The frozen stare breaks, your foot finds the brake pedal, your hands start moving the wheel again, because your body has gathered enough evidence that the crisis has passed. That release is automatic, but here's the useful part. You can help trigger it on purpose, instead of just waiting for your nervous system to figure it out on its own. The way in is through breath and physical sensation, because those are two of the fastest signals the vagus nerve actually listens to. So next time you feel that freeze creeping in, your voice catching, your feet feeling bolted to the floor, try this. Take one exhale that's slower and longer than the breath you just took in. Not a huge gasping breath, just a longer release out than the pull in. At the same time, find one thing you can physically feel right now: the floor under your feet, the chair against your back, the temperature of the air on your skin. Naming that one sensation out loud in your head does something specific. It pulls your attention out of the frozen threat spiral and back into your actual physical body, in the actual present moment. Why does this particular combination work on a system that just overrode your voice and your legs? Because the vagus nerve isn't just a threat detector, it's also a safety detector, and it reads your breath and your body as direct evidence. A long, slow exhale is something that physically cannot happen if you're truly in mortal danger. Your body cannot fake that kind of exhale under a real predator. So when you do it deliberately, you're handing the vagus nerve a signal that contradicts the emergency it just called. Pairing that with a grounding sensation, feet on the floor, hands on a table, adds a second signal, confirming you're here, present, physically located, not lost in the freeze. Together, those two signals start nudging the same nerve that caused the shutdown to ease off the brake. This is worth sitting with for a second, because it reframes everything from the beginning. Your body isn't broken when it goes still and silent. It's running the exact same ancient protection switch a small animal uses when a predator gets close, freezing instead of fleeing because stillness once meant survival. The confrontation, the blank mind on stage, the frozen second before almost colliding with another car, none of that was weakness. It was an old switch doing exactly what it was built to do, just aimed at a modern moment that didn't actually require it. So here's something worth paying attention to this week, without any pressure attached. Next time you catch that freeze creeping in, try the slow exhale and the grounding cue, and simply notice what happens. Notice whether your voice comes back a little sooner. Notice whether your shoulders drop or your breathing evens out. You're not trying to perform this perfectly or force some instant transformation. You're just giving your nervous system a chance to receive the signal and respond in its own time. So next time your body hits pause instead of play, remember, it's not broken, it's an ancient protection switch, the same one animals have relied on for longer than we've existed, and now you know exactly how to flip it back on.